Hello, everybody. This is Teen Title Talk with Erin
and Courtney.
This is the podcast
where two librarians discuss two YA books every 2 weeks.
Today we'll be talking about The Banned Book Club by Kim Hyun Sook, Hyung-Ju and Ryan Estrada.
And Superman Smashes the Klan by Luen and Gurihiru.
But before we do that, we do have to dip into the Jar of Teen Angst. So it's been actually a long time because we've been talking about so many other things like the pandemic and Black Lives Matter. And today it's just going to be into the Jar of Teen Angst and hopefully provide a little bit of levity. So first question up is, as a teen, were you a morning person or night owl? What was your morning routine? Did you eat breakfast or just scramble out the door barely on time?
For my whole life, I've always just scrambled out the door barely on time. Now,
and until today.
In the past, forever. It doesn't matter if I have all morning to get ready or if I only have 15 minutes. For some reason, I can just, there's always like, I can do this one more thing. I can do this one more thing.
Yeah.
Right before I leave, like, it'll be like the time I'm supposed to be in the car, and I'll be like, if I just take these 3 dishes out of the dishwasher, that's fine.
Like, it'll be better when you get home.
Right. I don't know why that I am that way. But as a teen, I would definitely say that I was a night owl.
Okay. That doesn't seem abnormal. I feel like all teens are night owls. They just stay up so late and then sleep in so late if possible.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's hard because I'm also, my biological clock just wants to wake up in the morning.
Okay.
So, like, I remember sleeping over at friends' houses, and I'd be the last one to fall asleep and the first one to wake up.
No, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's not great. It's still to this day, like, so I've been watching a lot of Drag Race.
Okay.
And I'll watch that until, like, 1 in the morning.
You did message me the other night at, like, 11:59, and I was like, what on earth?
Yeah. So I'll watch like some RuPaul until late into the night because it's very like you can't stop watching.
Right.
And then I wake up anyway at like 7. It's terrible.
7? Oh, okay, that's sleeping in for me.
Oh, all right.
5:59. I've got my eyes open.
Oh no.
But that's not how I would prefer it. If I was like acting normal, it would be like I'd stay up and then wake up late. I could sleep till 10. I wanted to.
It's too light.
My dad would be like, oh, there's always a rush in the morning. And I could still hear his voice because he'd just be like, girls, time to wake up. Up the stairs, he'd holler it. Mm-hmm. And it would happen like 10 times. It's irritating until all 4 of us were like stumbling out of our rooms. And it's like no one's responding for the first few times at all. But then eventually, apparently, we had
probably still sleeping for the first 3.
Well, yeah.
You're like he says it, and you're like, oh, I think I maybe registered a human voice. No, I'll go back to bed.
Exactly. You need to wake up, like, come in and yell. But then I had to like just get everything going for rushing out the door, and half the time I wouldn't even have breakfast. I don't remember ever sitting down to eat breakfast.
Oh, I need to eat breakfast. I wake up ravenous.
See, like as an adult, don't skip breakfast ever. I think that would be crazy. But as a teenager, I think I often was just like,
I think I knew a lot of friends who skipped breakfast. They'd just be like, oh, I didn't eat breakfast. And I'd be like, how?
What's wrong with you?
Dead on the ground if I did not eat breakfast. I would have like 2 bowls of Lucky Charms every morning.
Oh, that sounds amazing. If I had Lucky Charms as an option, I probably would have had breakfast. It was just like, you want a scrambled egg or something? I'm like, oh.
Oh, no, that's so healthy and wholesome. Mine... Yeah. Lucky Charms, and it didn't even last long. Like you'd be good to go with your energy for like 2 hours, and then you're starving by like second period because exactly. Lucky Charms does not really do the trick.
Now we've talked about like collecting things before, but this next question is specifically about your room in high school. Like, what was it like? Had you accumulated plenty of stuff by then? Did you have to share it? Was it all yours? Did you share a bedroom with your sister or brother?
All of the above. So.
Oh my gosh.
My mom not affectionately, called me a pack rat, and she was very concerned about my level of hoarding. I had a lot of stuff. By the time I was probably like 15 or 16, I had a ton of stuff.
And you just wouldn't throw anything in?
No, I didn't throw anything away. Everything I felt very sentimental about. So like I had like knick-knack shelves where like I would have like little figurines that people would buy for me from various places they would go.
Yeah.
Those just collect dust.
I love those though. I loved those. I had those too.
I know. And now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what happened to all those?
I think I even had like some pewter wizards.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, continue, carry on.
Yes, no, and I had a whole bookshelf that was just full of Barbies because I had a Barbie collection.
My gosh.
Barbies that were not ever taken out of their box.
What?
So
you sell those?
No, you know what? I've looked it up, and my mom was finally like, "Take all your Barbies back." And so I took them and I looked them all up, and none of them are worth more than like $30. They were just like regular Barbies that I just kept in their container because they look so good and they're like whatever. So I've taken them all out of their packages now, and now my child plays with them. But
good.
Yeah, so someone's playing with them. So I had a Barbie collection. Yeah, like I had Ken as Rhett Butler. And a few other characters. I had Barbie as Glinda.
I love that you have, like, in high school, you had a Barbie collection. This wasn't like preteen or childhood. You straight up were, like, collecting Barbie.
No, I got a Barbie catalog. Like, I would get the official Barbie catalog every month, and it would have gorgeous Barbies, like Bob Mackie designed gowns and, like, real Swarovski crystals and porcelain Barbies. And so I would just like drool over these and get the ones that were like the fancy ones at the toy store, which were not as fancy as the ones in the catalog.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that was another thing I collected. But like also I just collected crap. I had tons of just junk, like notes that my friends would pass to me in class. I kept in a box.
I love that. And you kept them?
I think I still have some.
That's awesome. I love it.
I still collect anything anyone ever sends me. Like if you ever send me a letter, I would save it forever. I have a file.
Oh my gosh.
It's getting very large. It's called correspondence.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
But at least it's in a file. It's not just strewn around.
It's not just strewn around. I saved postcards. Mm-hmm. I had, like, my walls were plastered with pictures of, like, Ryder Strong and Devon Sawa. And
wow. Did you have tons of stuff all over your walls?
Tons of stuff all over my walls. My walls were, just like the room I'm in right now. It was bright yellow.
Okay.
And it had white stripes. And it had this, like, wallpaper border in the middle with, like, hot pink flowers and hot, like, bright.
That's amazing.
And it was very bright, and it was very childlike, my teenage bedroom. And I had, like, my bed was covered in stuffed animals and, like, just everything. And then I was also really messy. So, like, all my dirty clothes are on the floor. All my clean clothes are on the floor. Everything is everywhere. Nothing is ever picked up. Books strewn about.
And did you share a room, or were you all alone?
It went sort of back and forth. So, in 7th and 8th grade, I had my own room, and then we moved. But in the interim of moving, we lived with my aunt for 5 months.
Okay.
And so then I shared a room. So that was like freshman year. I shared a room with my cousin, and that was actually really fun. We had bunk beds.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. And then when we moved to our new house, I had my own room in the basement. And that was cool because it was like my lair.
Uh-huh.
And then, so So all through high school, I had my own room. We all had our own rooms. And then when I went to college, I was still a teenager. I was like 17.
Right.
And my cousin came to live with us because she was having a baby and she needed a good place to go. So she and her baby lived in my room, I think. Okay. And I shared a room with my sister when I came home from college. Like,
okay.
So, like, we were
always...
We switched things up. I shared a room with my sister when I was little, and my brother was a baby because the baby got the nursery.
Oh, of course.
Right. So we've flip-flopped.
Interesting. I think
you share a room?
I think I shared a room with Amber the whole time. Oh, wait. Maybe when we were real young, we had separate rooms. But then when Casey and Moe arrived, it was like the two older kids and the two younger kids had to share a room. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember what age I was. They built a house. And that had a bigger room for Amber and I that stretched across like half of the top floor.
Ooh.
Second floor. It's not like it was it was a nice upgrade from what we had before. Sure. And so that room I had for my whole teenage life. And it was, I think at first it was rosy. It was like pink and it had a rosy carpet. I remember the rosy carpet being like a big deal that they were putting in. It was going to be just nice and happy. And then when I was a teenager, Mom and Dad let us like paint whatever we wanted on our walls. Mm-hmm. So I had like my friends and I got together and we like made this big art project, and one wall was all like squiggly, crazy line stripes. And then
that's cool.
One wall was a different design and there were quotes everywhere. And then I had one little dormer area where all my high school friends would write. So they'd write on the wall, leave little notes and quotes.
That's very special.
It was very cool. And I do have pictures of it somewhere, but it no longer looks like that. It was repainted later. So it's under there somewhere. Mm-hmm. But it was fun. And I have, like you, I had collected, correspondence and journals I collected the whole time. Mm-hmm. I had loved candles, which I collected all the time. I had posters on because most of my walls were filled up with quotes and pictures of friends. My ceiling was covered with posters.
Ooh.
So.
That's fun. Teenager rooms are so cool.
They're very interesting. They can tell you a lot about a person.
Yeah, you're just like wearing your personality on your walls.
Right, exactly.
Which is fun.
All right, let's move on to books. So you read Superman Smashes the Klan. What was that about?
So Superman Smashes the Klan is...
I should say we both read graphic novels this time.
Oh, yes. So what I didn't realize is that it came out in 2019 in installments, and then it was recently published all together as a book. And so I'm just reading it now, but other people may have already read all of the installments as they arrived.
Oh, cool. Okay, I hadn't realized that. So it was a competition.
Yeah, I didn't either. So it is about a Chinese American family that are moving to like main metropolis, like out of Chinatown and into the sort of like whiter area of Metropolis. Okay. And there's a lot of pushback on their arrival from they're not called the Ku Klux Klan. They're called, what are they called? It has its own little like name, but you know what it's referring to, but it's like a fictitious version of the KKK. Oh. And so this is actually based on an old actual Superman called Superman Smashes the Klan, I think. Okay. And yeah, it was a radio serial that people listened to, and it was about a Chinese family and like the Klan burning crosses on their yard, and this is sort of a modern retelling. So it's really...
I had no idea it was this old radio, so I got to go look that up because I love old radio. Like, it's just weird. It's weird. It's like a time capsule, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Okay. All right. I'm gonna look that up. So before we talk about more about that, let's just real quick sum up the banned book club, which was also great. It's a great graphic novel by Kim Hyun Sook, and it's about her as she starts her first year of college. She's ready to immerse herself into her studies, but she's pulled into a fascinating and purpose-driven banned book club. They read, and I quote, great works of illicit literature in secret. And it's not long until they're found out and their club is in jeopardy, and some group members are gravely hurt, and it gets very intense very quickly, but it's also a very good book.
Oof.
So let's talk about Superman Smashes the Klan. I was curious about the vibe, because I tend to think of superhero comics as entertaining, but pretty far removed from reality and maybe even like social issues. And yet, in reading about the book and hearing you talk about it, I immediately got very stressed out. So, especially with when I was reading, like the Lees getting targeted, and they kidnapped in the beginning of the book? Was somebody kidnapped?
Yes.
Okay, so that was super serious, and it sounded like it was pretty intense. And I guess I just don't think of superhero stuff as a serious genre. So what was the vibe? Was it like pure entertainment? Was it social commentary? Did it fall in the middle?
I think it is pretty serious, although I would say it falls in the middle because there are some light moments.
Okay.
The threats are very real, but they're always very quickly de-escalated because Superman is there to save the day, like, all the time.
Great.
So,
yeah, it would be great if Superman was really there to save the day all the time.
Wouldn't it though? so they there is one kidnapping, and then there's another like attempted kidnapping, and those could really have gone wrong, and that's a really, really scary thing. Like, if you take away the Superman element, like imagining like a 13-year-old boy getting kidnapped by the Klan, and then, like, you can just imagine what could happen.
Yes.
Anything, something horrible, scary. And so Superman saves him, and so you're like, oh, whew, well, that was good. So that stuff would be extremely terrifying in real life. Thanks to the fact that Superman is there, it's a lot better.
Okay.
And it's not all Klansmen. There are other things too, like, that make it serious. So there are a lot of microaggressions from neighbors and schoolmates that I think are made pretty obvious. And Tommy and Roberta's dad is always giving their mom a hard time about not speaking English. So both of the parents are Chinese, but the mom is having a harder time, I guess you could say, like, completely like shifting to an American mindset, whereas the dad is like, the only way for us to be accepted into American society is to always speak English, even at home, like wear American style clothes,
right,
eat American style food, like we are going to assimilate.
Right.
And the mom is like, no, like we can do this, but we can also speak Chinese at home. We can eat the food that we like to eat. We can, whatever. So you see like that sort of new American, how do we navigate this in our own family kind of stuff, which is also, stressful and serious. And then Superman has his own story that is also kind of serious, where he's discovering a lot of stuff about himself.
Okay.
And that discovery is eye-opening, and it really kind of like makes him a lot more of a full character. He's not just like a big brawny guy who comes to save the day all the time and he always does what's right and whatever. And so I think it makes him more sympathetic too.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about the art, because we're looking at graphic novels. So, and I know we're about assessing art. We've talked about that before, but we kind of need to talk about it. So what was the style? Did anything stick out at you? Was it very comic book-y?
I mean, it was comic book-y, but I loved the art so much that I took screenshots on my phone. I was reading it on my phone. Okay. And I took screenshots because I thought it was so pretty.
Oh, cool.
Like, I mean, it looks like a comic book, but it also, I don't know, there was something about it that was just really beautiful. The colors were really vibrant. Superman had a kind of like old school look. So the illustration team, which is Gurihiru, is 2 illustrators, and they've done Avatar: The Last Airbender and a lot of Marvel stuff, but this is their first DC comic, so it was kind of fun to see a new style, and is super visually appealing, and the pictures are so beautiful. And like there's this one where Superman discovers this crystal cave at the bottom of Lake Solitude, and that's where he sort of meets his parents, even though they're dead. It's like a sort of illusion of his parents.
Okay.
And so you get this really cool moment, but as he's swimming up to the cave, it's like this full page like spread on both sides, and it's so striking and beautiful.
That sounds beautiful. Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and then there's also like a lot of it's really good at evoking that darkness too. So there's a scene where Matt Riggs, who is like, so Tommy plays baseball, and there are some kids on the baseball team, he's very talented, and some kids on the baseball team are like, hey Tommy, we love having you here because you're a great pitcher, blah blah. And then there's this one kid who's like, rah, 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 I hate people who are different from me, whatever, you're ruining our baseball team because you're better than me. And his uncle is like a higher up in this clan, and so they're the ones who get involved with making the Lee's life miserable. And so Matt Riggs is the uncle, and he goes to confronts the grand imperial mogul of the clan, and finds that like behind all of the hateful ideology is really just like money, like how making money, like getting new members, recruitment, like all this weird stuff. And so there's a lot of nuance. And I think the art feels very traditional superhero, but it also like evokes all of these nuances really well.
Very cool. So something a little more serious, but Kirkus says that this is a clever and timely conversation on reclaiming identity and acknowledging one's full worth. Do you agree with that statement?
I do. I think there are a couple of really satisfying moments, and those are always related to being yourself, or letting your true self shine through and finding strength in your true self. When Superman finally owns his otherness, because he is also an other, like he's not just a human with cool powers, he's actually an alien from outer space, you know? And so like he's not just like an alien in the way someone might say like an illegal alien. He's like an actual alien. And so he's like about as other as you can be. You're not even from this planet. And he's really self-conscious of that. And so all his life he's been trying to just fit in. Hence the Clark Kent like
cover up kind of thing.
Cover up, alter ego. He's using Clark Kent to be able to just fit in with people, because otherwise he's a total freak. So so there's a lot of backstory with him and like coming to terms with this otherness. And then like finally there's this moment at the end where he is like, I am going to embrace this and use all of these powers that I've been denying myself so long so that I can finally save people in the way that I want to save them. And so that's really satisfying. And that's one of those moments of just like being yourself. And that's like a really big one. But I think it dovetails obviously so perfectly with the Lees and how they're sort of using their own sense of self, especially Roberta, who is, I would say, the main character. She's awesome. And it's pretty much told through her perspective. She's the little sister of Tommy. And she wants to be a writer, and she does a lot of investigative work, and she is always speaking her mind and asking questions, even though she has this thing where like she gets sick when she has anxiety, so she barfs all the time. But like, oh God, she like works through it and despite it, and it's really cool when like at the end she gets her own really cool moment when Lois Lane presents her with like a special gift, which I don't want to give away because it's a really satisfying moment.
But it's interesting the way, you know, the Superman has this alter ego to kind of hide in society, and you see that mirrored a little bit with the Lee's experience as well.
Yes, 100%. Like,
really
so Tommy and Roberta, that's not their names.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, they have Chinese names.
Right. Right.
They don't use among their classmates in this new part of town because their dad is so afraid that they won't be accepted. So they have these like different names, but that's not their real names.
Do you think this is a standalone, or do you think there will be more?
I felt
as you've talked about it, I didn't realize it was a compilation in itself.
Yeah, it feels very standalone to me. I mean, will the author make more Superman stories? Possibly, but I think the Klan one is probably done.
Okay.
Because when it says he smashes the Klan, I mean, he pretty much like destroys them.
That's exciting.
So, and because it's based off of a real radio serial from the 1930s, it's the Clan of the Fiery Karass. I'm glad I wrote that down.
Oh, okay.
That had 16 parts, and then that was the arc, and then the arc was done.
Okay.
So I really like the last few pages of the book because it includes photos and history of the original series.
Okay.
And backstory on the Chinese experience in America since the 1800s.
Cool.
It's just really well done, and I hope we get a spin-off for Roberta because she is a cub reporter for Lois Lane, and I think that'd be so cool, like, to see her doing her cool, like, reporting because she's so cool. Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if they have anything in the works. We'll have to look it up.
It would be fun. All right, well, let's talk about yours.
Okay.
So I am I feel like I say this every time you read something that has to do with international history, but I'm always like, wow, I don't know anything about that. Wow, I don't know anything about that. So I know nothing about South Korean history. When I think of South Korea, I'm thinking like K-pop and glamorous big cities, cool technology, great TV, movies, music. But like, what is South Korea like 35 years ago? What did it feel like there?
Okay, so I'm also completely ignorant about this place and time. So it was really interesting, and I wasn't expecting the book I got. So I'd say the feel there 35 years ago felt stifling at best and dangerous and deadly at worst. That's the sense I got. So it takes place during the Fifth Republic, which was a totalitarian military regime, censored heavily. They tortured people who they thought were breaking the rules and getting black market books and ideas. Even these college kids were constantly watched, interrogated, and tortured, which I didn't realize was going to be part of that. I just thought, it's college. Like, it's just my perspective of college, not anywhere near this. Protests were happening regularly, but obviously at much cost. It was definitely scary to navigate it with Kim because she was taking this really brave step to go to college at all against her mother's wishes. Like, this was a risk they were taking, but then the stakes are raised even higher as she joins this club because the risk is getting even greater. But it's also, important to her, but it definitely raises the stakes right away. And you know that she, like, is there already not totally supported. And so it would be so easy for everything to be taken away if she was found that she was in this. And it would also be disappointing to, people around her. So it was just, the stakes were high and it was scary.
It sounds scary.
It was. I thought it was very intense, and I zipped right through it.
So I need to learn more. I was just in a comic book workshop with Merrick Bennett, and he talked a lot about the element of surprise and how that element keeps us involved or keeps us wanting to read, especially graphic novels. So like an image or a cliffhanger that will make us go like, wait, what? And then you have to find out what's going to happen next.
Right.
Can you talk about surprises or what kept you reading?
Right. So, Yes, I love Merrick. He's absolutely right. He's done a couple workshops for teens here, and he's also part of Kid Lit 603 because he's a New Hampshire comic artist.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a really cool guy. So I'm trying to think, because it was so intense throughout the whole thing that I'm trying to think of specific moments. But for sure, even after I shot the book, there was this image that just would not leave me. Mm-hmm. And it's when I knew I'd picked up a very serious book. It was the interrogation room. There was a point where one of the poets was dragged in and was being tortured. And this guy was the peacekeeper. Like, he was a pacifist. And I thought he was going to make it out. The colors are very muted at this moment. And the kids look really vulnerable, obviously, and beat up. And then he almost gets out of the situation, but just as the interrogator is about to leave him, he throws the book of poetry at him, and the top layer of the book sleeve rises up to show the hidden book underneath, and it's contraband. And then it cuts to the other kids. So right there, you know the poet is so screwed. I mean, it was horrible. Like, you just see the sleeve rise up, and you see the expression on the interrogator's face, and then it's giving me chills right now thinking about it, and then it like flips to the next part. So it was, that one definitely kept me on the edge of my seat. I was just like, oh my gosh, are we going to see him again or not?
Oh my gosh. This is very serious and scary.
Yeah. And I think it's scarier because it is based in reality.
Right.
You know, she did, in the author's notes, it says they changed names and etc., but it's based on true events. So,
well, I think what makes it so interesting is that, or not what makes it so interesting, but part of what makes it so interesting is that, like, as American high school students, like, primarily when we're learning about these type of totalitarian regimes, we're learning about, like, Hitler, and we're thinking a lot about Nazis, or we're thinking about, like, fascists in Europe, but we learned very, very little about much more recent history,
right,
where these things were still happening in other parts of the country, like other parts of the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's so fascinating. Like, we have this narrative, like, we beat that, it's
right,
over,
right.
That's
history.
Like, no.
We'd never be like that again.
Right. This is like something that's rising and falling all over the world all the time. And so I feel like this is a very fortuitous time for this graphic novel to emerge, because it's starting to feel a little scary here. So, I mean, not to that level, obviously, but there's a discomfort. So, a decline of democracy, anti-intellectualism, it feels a little close to home. Is there anything in it that gives you hope about their time, which was not that long ago, or ours?
I think that, well, yeah, there are definitely familiar undertones. I think the ending felt hopeful. It was perfect. It did it like a fast forward by about 30 years, and we see the same characters coming together at a protest. You're talking about things rising and falling, and that was the same feeling in the book. I mean, okay, I can see how that isn't uplifting because they're still protesting, so obviously.
But the fact that they can protest is
But they're alive. Yeah, they're alive. They're making progress, and they're speaking out. And they talk about their time back in college, and then they're like, well, this is a little better. This is a really good thing. And so you see that hopefulness, but they're still fighting for something, but they are maintaining the hope and the endurance for continuing to have the conversation, it looks like, through their whole lives. So I think that is hopeful. And also just the idea that ideas and books and holding those so dear that you would risk so much to have them is also in itself a hopeful thing.
That is hopeful. As you were describing it, I was just thinking in my mind, like, where would I hide my books? If someone was coming to be like,
good luck hiding all your books.
I don't have that many anymore. So I'm like, where can I put them?
I have so many books, and I would not be able to hide them. So,
well,
also, I will fight you for my books.
You would not win, I have a feeling, in this situation.
But I will still fight you.
But you would still fight, and that's the important part.
Right.
Okay, so I also want to talk about the art in yours, because it's such a central part of, like, any graphic novel.
True.
How did the text and pictures and design like work together, and do you think they were harmonious?
Okay, so thinking back, it's like, what's interesting is nothing popped out at me in a bad way at all. Like sometimes I'll feel like I'm reading and then I get a little discombobulated and I'm like, wait, did I lose my, you know, where I was going or what panels? But in this one, it felt very smooth to the point where I was just totally entranced by the story in a good way. And as I mentioned, there were some terrifying visceral images that made me pay attention. But as far as flow, it was pretty seamless. I also think it's interesting because the front of the book feels sort of unassuming and almost ordinary. And I actually picked this book based on the cover and had no idea what I was in for. I thought I was going to read about like an American high school banned book club that like the PTA was mad about or something.
Yep.
And some kid like dishing books from her closet or a locker, you know, like that kind of thing. I did not realize where I was going based on the cover. And then once I read the back and I read the book, I realized how wrong I was. But I think that might be sort of a good thing about the cover is that you don't know what you're in store for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just so approachable.
I haven't seen the cover, but is the cover like actually the beginning of the book? You know what I mean? Like, could it be like the before times or like no?
No, because well, I'm trying to think. I don't have it sitting in front of me, but she's definitely. I think I see her. It's just like your normal person going off to college or like older teenager holding a book in the crook of their arm.
Oh, yes. I have seen it now. I'm remembering it now that you're describing it.
Right. And it's not like really loud as far as colors. It's pretty muted.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all it has on the cover.
Yeah. Well.
So, yeah.
That's okay. So one of the things I've noticed is that readers who love graphic novels really crave graphic novels.
Yes.
So are there any others that you would recommend that are maybe up the same alley as Banned Book Club?
All right. So I was thinking of read-alikes, and I mean, there's a bunch that pop into my head. So this one's not anywhere near Korea, but when I think of like stifling and timely, yet not in our time, I think of They Call This Enemy by George Takei.
Mm-hmm.
I also think of The Almost American Girl by Robin Ha, which is about Korean-born Robin who ends up being unexpectedly transplanted to Alabama. And she's in like total culture shock, obviously. And then she signs up for a comics class or someone signs her up. And it turns the tables a bit for her as far as finding a place where she feels like she belongs.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that one might be a good one. And I believe that's a newer book, like this year. So that would be a great one. And then also after hearing about Superman Smashes the Klan, I think that one might be a great read-alike too.
Definitely not as serious, but still serious.
I know, but like you're saying, graphic novelists I think they read widely, but in that genre.
That's true.
Or sorry, in that medium.
Medium, yes.
Right.
And they both sound so good.
Right. So what's up next? I was thinking there's this weird, it's not a genre, but it's kind of like rewritten modern or sort of dystopian feeling Westerns that live in sci-fi and fantasy worlds.
Yes.
I keep seeing them. So I'm going to read, I didn't write it down, but I think it was The Good Grace Girls by Nicole Davis. But I'm going to get you her actual name and write it in the description because that's my bad. I thought I wrote it down and I didn't.
That's okay. And I am going to read, I think it's pronounced Elysium Girls?
Yeah.
By Kate Pentecost. I've already got it. I've already read the first chapter.
Okay, cool. So we're going to talk about, Western-y vibe, dystopia, sci-fi, fantasy books next time. And that'll be
what a niche.
Sounds really cool.
It does.
We'll see how that goes. Don't forget to join the conversation by answering the questions at the beginning of the program. What was your teen bedroom like? Did you have to share it? Did you collect and hoard things like Courtney? Did you write on your walls like Erin? What was it like? And also, what was our other question?
Oh, our other question was, I have it, I'm scrolling.
It was so long ago that I can't even remember it anymore.
Oh, were you a morning person, night owl?
Yeah.
You got to rush out of the house.
My guess is that most of them are going to answer night owl, but who knows? So
I think that's the whole thing about school starting later in the morning.
A good point. You can answer those questions and more. Share your stories with us. Share your favorite reads by emailing us at teentitletalk@gmail.com.
Thank you for joining us for Teen Title Talk. This podcast is brought to you by the Derry Public Library and Derry-CAM, Derry Community Access Media, empowering independent voices. Wherever you're listening, if you enjoyed it, please be sure to rate and review. Don't forget to send us questions. Our theme was created and performed by Banded Starling. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.